Hi, my name is Seran Khan. I'm currently a sub-editor for Aaj News. I'm here to talk about my gap year and how I fell into the field of journalism. After 2020, when the pandemic hit, my education really took a hit, and I was forced to take a gap year because I was not able to get into a university. Once I had to take a gap year, I had a lot of pressure from family and friends to start figuring out a way to start earning for myself. And being an 18-year-old surrounded by a lot of business-minded people that were making great progress in the industry, I felt like I wasn't up to the task. And that took an immense toll on my mental health. So I spent all of 2021 and now half of 2022 in my gap year trying to figure out the next move for me and my career and what I should be doing. And I eventually, in a way to start earning for myself, decided to go into the field of journalism, even though that was not what I wanted to do in the first place. The field of journalism is a very easy field to get into, especially if you've got a great command over English and how to be fluent in what you write, and if you're good at getting your point across, which is something that I've always been able to do because I was an active debater in school. However, it's not a passion of mine. My passion is mainly business and marketing and advertising, and that is something that I feel like I have a stronghold over, and I was not able to pursue that due to the lack of a degree. In today's society, everyone's always pressured to have everything figured out for themselves. You need to know what job you want to do 5 years down the line. You need to know what you want to do for your master's, what you need to do for your bachelor's, how you need to get into your bachelor's, how your A-levels are supposed to end. And the amount of pressure that this puts on a young teenager from the ages of 16 to 20 is insane, because it tells you that you always need to have the answers for everything, and you don't. It's okay to be foggy. It's okay to be a little hesitant about your next steps in life. And the fact that we have been raised by a generation that has always told us that if you don't have it figured out, that you're not going to go anywhere in life is not okay. That is the major reason for so many of us, for our anxiety, for our depression, for the struggles we have with, talking to people around us. A major reason for my social anxiety for the longest time was the fact that all my friends around me were doing something. They all had jobs, they were earning money. All of them moved abroad for university. Some of them went to the US, some of them went to the UK, and then there was me stuck over here. And to be honest, I didn't spend my gap year in the most productive way. I stayed home. I stopped talking to my friends. I could not start the business that I wanted to start. I failed multiple times on trying to get jobs, trying to get internships. No one would take me because I didn't have a university degree. And that also took a toll on my mental health. And I was told by my parents, by my friends, and they'd say, Seran, you're not doing anything with your life. And that, on top of my own mental worries, would make me feel even worse. And there was no one around me in that time that ever told me that it's okay to take a year off. It's okay to focus on yourself for once. It's okay to pay attention to your mental health, and it's okay to just sit back and breathe. You don't always have to be on your feet. You don't always have to be doing something. And I feel like that is so important for us to understand today. Taking a gap year was the best decision that I made, even though it wasn't something that I did voluntarily. Because the after effects of my gap year, I'm a stronger person. I've realized that I don't need to have control over every situation in my life. I let things go with the flow, and that's helped me so much with my anxiety and how I am as a person. And that's something that I feel like everyone really needs to take a second to understand and learn, because if you do, trust me, nothing is going to be better for you. I think one of the hardest things was being an 18-year-old and seeing other 18, 19-year-olds starting their own businesses. From people starting fashion brands to people starting their own YouTube pages, from people starting their at-home bakeries or their clothing lines. Everyone seemed to have a passion. Everyone seemed to have a clear-cut idea of what they were doing and how they were going to do it. The financing, the sponsorship, the advertising, everything. And they were so smart. They figured it all out. And I think in that moment is where I felt the weakest, because I was the only one that didn't have something like that. And the peer pressure got extremely real when all of their businesses started taking off and they started doing immensely well. And me being the proud friend who's always there as a supporter but never had something of my own. And that is the pressure that comes with today's society, that if everyone else is doing it, you should be doing something too. And that's not the case, because you don't need to. If you can't figure it out, it's okay. It's okay to not know your passions. It's okay to not understand whether you want to fall into journalism or you want to intern for a law firm or you want to start your own fashion brand. It's okay to not know these things. And on top of that, when your family tries to pressurize you into doing something or to always know the answer to the questions that they're asking, it puts another sort of toll on you because you have no one that understands. And then you turn towards things that you shouldn't be turning towards in the first place. And in our generation's age, the most common thing is drugs and alcohol and parties and things that will really just have an adverse effect in the long term. With parents, I understand that it's very hard to say, hi, listen, I don't have a passion yet. There'd be days where, for days on end, where I talk to my parents and say, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. My mind is foggy. I don't have a routine. I don't know how to get through the next few months. And that sort of vulnerability is so hard to come by, and then to also have no one understand it is even harder. I think the thing at the end of the day is that we're so tired of always having to have all the answers on all the time, and sometimes we wish we could just say that we don't. And we really wish that someone would listen when we say that, listen, right now, I can't answer those questions. I can't explain whether I've got my life figured out because I genuinely do not know. And we wish people would understand that. And I think the biggest thing with that is to first believe it yourself, to stop shaming yourself for not having it figured out. Don't criticize yourself over every tiny move you make, and don't overthink every move you make, because at the end of the day, it increases your anxiety and it makes you feel worse. The best way to get around this would be to try and create a safe space for the people who have been feeling this way, to be a little more careful about what you say and what you talk about around those people, because sometimes it triggers them in ways that you wouldn't even imagine, right? These people could be sitting at home every single day feeling so left out and feeling like they aren't good enough because they couldn't come up with something as simple as a business idea. It's not about that. It's about much more than that. Those people are just as worthy and just as capable as everyone else. It just takes them a little longer to get to where you have, right? We're not saying that they're never going to figure it out. They will. But will it take them a little longer? Yes. And is that something that we need to be a little more understanding with? Definitely. Patience is the key to virtue, which is what a lot of people say. And I feel like creating spaces where these people can feel heard and where these people feel accepted and don't feel belittled for things that they haven't figured out is the best way to go. Whether this be in institutions like schools, where you don't get mad at students for not having their college essay written out or not having an idea for their college essay because they're not sure, or when it does come to applying to colleges for not knowing what degree they want to apply for. It's okay. They don't need to. They've got 4 years in university to figure it out as well, and they'll take all the time they need. It's better to make a well-informed decision than a rushed decision, because at the end of the day, a rushed decision could go wrong as well. It's also important to start talking about this more openly in your families and try to do your best to communicate your thought process to your parents, your siblings, anyone else in your family that tries to compare you to someone else. I think what they need to understand at the end of the day is that you will figure it out, that you're not stuck. This isn't being stuck. This is just taking a second to breathe. And I'm not saying a gap year is the way to do that. I'm saying a gap year was my way of doing that. Everyone else's ways could be very different. You could take an internship somewhere and realize this is not what I want to do and change your mind. You could take a gap year like I did, do nothing with it, no internships, no jobs, just sit with yourself and realize, yeah, this is my passion, this is what I keep coming back to. There's a lot of different ways to go about it, and there's no one specific answer for everyone. But the best thing to do is to be patient with yourself and just pace yourself and take it one step at a time.